Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Snakes and Ladders event objectives as well as the event itself. I figured I combined both of them together since many weeks they don't really have enough content to really have their own videos, so weeks like this I will just do them as one. So of course the Bone Naga was added to the game, not anything that's going to be too overly used. Do keep in mind it does give brown purple trait stones. This will be used most notably with a Cerberus, and some other options are things like Keeper of Souls and Bone Dragon, and if you are earlier on in the game you may want to consider upgrading a Rock Spirit with it, as Rock Spirit does some pretty decent damage and has Stone Skin. But as far as the Bone Naga, it does a little bit of split damage to all enemies, boosted by however many of them are poisoned, as well as however many of them are death marked, and it does a 7 additional damage per enemies that have either of those two status effects. Generally, you'll only buff him up by doing some kind of poison, as poison will probably be a lot easier than trying to get death mark down on the entire enemy team. And if you were to get all 4 of them poisoned, that would be 28 additional damage on top of whatever his magic plus 6 is as far as his damage. He is an undead Naga, not too many synergies that can really be used for color-wise. 11 mana cost, so not the easiest to cast. Compared to Rock Spirit and other things, isn't really going to get used too excessively. It gains a little bit of armor to all Nagas, Venomous, which at least gives into his ability some, and the Inferno armor, which is 25% Skull Reflect. As far as these traits, you really don't need to worry about it. This troop in general probably won't get too much usage. Rock Spirit earlier on in the game will probably be used more than this thing, and later on in the game everyone will just be using Cerberuses, Keeper of Souls, Bone Dragons, and things of the such. But we're still going to go and do some teams with them. But let's head over to the objectives now. We need to go do a bunch of treasure hunting, and of course treasure hunt minigame, all you have to do for that is go over to Zolkari or to the minigames tab and go over to treasure hunt. If you don't have that many maps, you can easily get them from just completing out the Zolkari Kingdom. That will give you a Tyree for free, and then you just use that Tyree to farm maps, and then you'll have more maps than you ever know what to do with. And every 10 turns that you get on the minigame there, you will end up getting an event gem, though it does seem to be a little bit higher than the normal 150 it normally does. It could be just because it's the treasure hunt. But you will need 250 for that. As far as the rewards, it's mainly just gems. Raven, you don't really need for anything. It is towards the weaker side. It's mainly just for cleaning up kills, and that's about it, since he gains an extra turn and his mana back on the kills. Using Nagas in Explore is pretty much something you will not be doing. You do get 20 souls for doing it this week, though there's really no point. You're better off just using a soul farming team, because Nagas don't have any normal soul farming, so you're going to get less souls from using a team of 4 Nagas than you would of just using a standard Valkyrie or Dragon Soul or anything like that, so no point in doing this for the week. And of course we have our bonuses, which is 25% to all Mystic Scales and 25% to all Nagas. So now to show some teams for all of that related stuff. But let me also go into some troop changes real quick, because there were a few. I did do this in the previous video, but just want to repeat them again for anyone who may not have seen it. Courage now has his final trait reduced. It now does 2 attack and 2 life gain instead of the previous 3 to both of them, so he's a bit more balanced now. Loyalty got the inverse of that, of a buff. Now it does 3 to both armor and life instead of the previous 2 that it had. And in anticipation for the new mythic coming this Friday, the new dragon mythic for Dragon's Claw, they ended up buffing up Demonstraxia and Van Barrack. Both of them have slightly higher damage as well. Both of them now have a 75% chance of doing their status effect instead of the previous 25. So now Demonstraxia has the 75% chance to burn. Van Barrack now has the 75% chance to disease, and both of them have a slightly higher damage. I believe Demonstraxia is about 6 or 7 higher, and Van Barrack I believe was like about 2 or 3, which puts it more on par with all the other dragons that hit all enemies. So both of them are actually useful now. Demonstraxia you get for free just from completing out Darkstone. Van Barrack is a completely random drop, however, though. And let's go over to some things that may be good in the Guild Wars this week. This is not an actual team. There's a couple of troops that, based on the bonuses that are given this week with the 25% to all Mr. Scales and 25% to all Nagas. That may end up being useful. The Assassin class, if you set it as a Naga, will end up getting 25% extra bonus this week, which can help you out a lot. This also gives you the Assassinate if you happen to have it fully traded, which can't really be countered that well. It's pretty good for Guild Wars since you can almost guaranteed end up getting a kill on the enemy team. And it's also somewhat good against Entangle because there is a glitch where if you end up hitting critical out of Entangle while it is Entangle, it will be able to get the Assassinate off. I believe there's even been instances where it's completely entangled and doing 0 damage that can even trigger Assassinate. But yeah, it is a little bit glitchy, so definitely something worth using since you might just end up randomly getting a kill or two. Use it with a Skull Spammer and you'd pretty much be good to go, or just using it for PvP in general. Poison Master is pretty good this week because it'll explode pretty much the entire board as long as it has a lot of greens on it. It'll explode a really huge amount of greens, likely every single one currently present. Plus it'll poison 2 random enemies, which might be good earlier on in the game, but of course the main thing is the very cheap explosion for only 12 mana cost. Traits are pretty useless though. Naga Queen, pretty good if you need a brown counter in Guild Wars this week, or if you just need a pretty big HP gain. Can give a pretty substantial with a 50% bonus HP gain to all of your other allies, and it might be able to land you some extra turns. Otherwise, you can just use it on a Guild Wars day, maybe on Brown Day, to try to counter out any browns that they may be using. And finally, we have Marilith. Marilith, I believe, I forgot to double check, but she should be the highest possible attack of any troop this week at a extremely high 56. In Guild Wars, this could be upwards, definitely upwards of 60, if depending on how maxed you have it. So definitely a lot of potential there. Extremely high skull damage. Not to mention, if you are personally using her in PvP and you have her first trait, you'll be gaining additional 2 attack on top of that as well. And she ends up, at least with how much magic I have, destroying about half the board with her ability. And of course, destroy means you actually get the mana back. So that's quite a bit of mana generation, almost as much as an exploder destroying the entire board, since even though it explodes more gems doing an exploder, it only gives 70%, where she gains 100% value for every single gem destroyed. So those are some troops to consider this week. And now let's go over to an actual team with the new troop. Of course, Bone Naga won't really be getting too much usage, but we'll be using it with this, the Frozen Banner, +2 blue, +1 purple, -1 red. Of course, Marilith I tend to like to use to a +3 red, but the -1 red that we have is just going to negate out her Fire Link. So since she's still on that 3 value, it'll still work out pretty nice. It's based mainly around that Poison Master getting a nice explosion. Then we can kind of go crazy with the all the other casts, hoping to get Shadow Dragon alignment and things of the such. And if worse comes to worse, we can just kill it 1 shot each off the Marilith, or 2 shots, depending on where it goes. It is possible for us to kill with true damage as well with this team, and maybe we'll be able to get that. Ideally, from the start, we will want to go on blue, try getting Poison Master up as best we can, as he will be getting this team started. And since we set it to a Frozen Banner, that will be a little bit easier. He does have a pretty nice shielder. Console players this week just ended up getting him. I will make sure to put for now on, and whenever I do any event-related videos, I will make sure to put the corresponding week's console version one into the comment section, or into the description, so that you guys can see it. But yeah, console's got Dragonian Monk this week. Definitely a really nice troop to use. But one pretty nice thing that we can do is Poison is a pretty hard counter to the barrier that he creates, because a single instance of the poison triggering can break a barrier. We can also break it with Marilith, which is a other nice alternative that we can do. And we did get the double poison, so now we are going to be doing 14 additional damage, meaning mine will now do 54 damage from this cast, split among the enemies. So we'll go do that. Of course, it's really barely any damage at all, particularly this late in the game. But earlier on in the game, it could be some decent value. I believe Rock Spirit does outvalue it, though. So it might just be kind of dead content, since if Rock Spirit is better, then there's really no point in using that thing. But still have 2 poisons. I don't think we get better value unless his entire team is poisoned, which is relatively hard to do if we don't have like a web spinner or something. Of course, we can do it with his Shadow Dragon, so we'll do just that. Now his entire team is poisoned, so we should be able to get the better value out of it. We can recast if we want. I think I'm just going to go for a standard Skull Poke here. And again, we can get a distraction on him if we don't do that. So he'll waste his turn over there. I Could throw just a random Shadow Dragon, could go for the Poison Master. I think we're going to go for the split damage into the Poison Master into hopefully Shadow Dragon alignment. If not, we can just throw down a Marilith. And of course, I am deliberately letting him try to take skulls since we do have that 25% reflect. That does help out some, not really a huge deal, but better than 0 reflect. So we'll throw down the Marilith there. I'll of course destroy about half the board, and at least on 50%, because it is based on her magic. And he will get the final poke on, and we'll end up killing it out. But we still have plenty of team left. We now have our Marilith exposed with its extremely high damage value, so we'll be able to use that pretty well. We still have our explosion ready. All of them are still poisoned. Obviously, he doesn't have any cleanse. Poison's the only stats effect that doesn't naturally cleanse itself off. So his entire team is going to be poisoned for the rest of the battle, unless he happens to get a revive on either of the two Dragon Souls. Okay, so we'll throw a Marilith here. That should be enough based on all of the skulls we hit, and it is. Getting a lot of mana, not actually needing any of it though. Shadow Dragon still has no alignment unless he gives it to us right here. And he does get a summon, and that does put us in a slightly weird position where we could end up possibly losing. But we'll just take that out. We most likely won't, but there is still that possibility existing. If he keeps getting summoning in big hits, he can tear us down pretty easily. But we'll do that. Hope for the write-off there. We do end up getting the skull instead, so I guess that works as well. Still don't have Shadow Dragon alignment. We have a lot of 3 pairs. We'll get 3 different 3 pairs. 4. Oh, wait, never mind. We have it right over there. I didn't see that there. Thank you, little blinky thing. And there we go. And now we just need to throw a Marilith at it. I do want to take a couple extra just in case he does revive. Trying to get him killed by a skull. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to, though. So we'll have to throw a Marilith right here. And hopefully he doesn't revive. Good. Okay. So, there we go. And down it goes for the count. And yeah, that is the new Bone Naga. Not really seeing much of a usage for it. Nagas don't really have too many things that they can do. Most notably, out of any Naga, is just the hero class of Naga, as well as Marilith. Marilith's about the only normal Naga that really gets used in other teams. Then again, that's a lie. Poison Master is too. Ever since he got the buff on the amount of explosions he does, he's been somewhat decent, as he is tied at the 12 mana cost. There are a few different troops that can do a mass explosion at a 12 mana cost, and that is pretty good value to be able to get it off, especially when he has this many explosions. That is 100% guaranteed going to be every single green off the board, so it can end up netting you quite a bit of mana generation. But anyways, that'll wrap it up for this video. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.